everybody. Welcome to Nehemiah African Projects. My name is Dr. Rafaro. I'm glad to have you here today. Nehemiah African Projects has been educating our audience on all things related to investing in Africa, how to create wealth building strategies, mitigate your risk, and just really about shifting your mindset and being open to the opportunities that are out there in terms of how to invest in Africa, particularly real assets, including real estate, land, and even agriculture. But there are many things out there, even including businesses that you can invest in, whether you want to do it passively or maybe take a hybrid approach where you are earning passive income, but you also have maybe a few real assets, and maybe once a year or twice a year you have an opportunity to go and actually visit on ground in a particular African country. And then there are those folks that are interested in investing in Africa as a potential means to pathway to retirement, full retirement or early retirement. And that's a wonderful opportunity there as well. So welcome. If it's your first time, please do subscribe, like, share, and feel free to comment below as well. So today we are talking about dreams. We're talking about dreams, folks. I don't know how many of you dream. Some people say they don't dream at all, and I'm like, there's something wrong with you. But we're talking about dreams today, and specifically not just when you go to sleep, but the dreams of life, the dreams that you envision for your life. Specifically, most of us here in the United States, we are familiar with the term American Dream. The American Dream has been designed, articulated, relayed for you already, and nobody ever really questions the American Dream. We've just kind of accepted it and say, yeah, we're all pursuing the American Dream, to have a wonderful life, build your family, settle down, get married, buy a house, raise your kids, send them to college, and all these things have been part of the American Dream, and they're wonderful things. They really are. They're a blessing. And the American Dream, once again, the key thing about it is it was pre-designed. And have you ever stopped to ask yourself, who designed this dream? Well, it's a general American culture. You can say that, passed down from generation to generation. But the thing about that is time. Time has been moving and transpiring, and things have been happening, and therefore things have been changing. And the American Dream today is still pursued. However, there are harsh realities about the American Dream today. We all know that the average family is facing inflation. It's facing what folks are referring to as an affordability crisis in the United States. There are jobs out there, but may not be the job that you want to do or pursue. The competition is very high, not to add the factors of artificial intelligence that are out there on the market. Employers are adopting AI at a rapid pace, and some employers are choosing to use AI in the realms of productivity, increasing productivity. However, when it comes to turnover in most large enterprises, where they would then go back to HR and say, okay, we need to fill this position again, they're not. So they may not announce, like maybe, for example's sake, it's all been on the news, so I'm not picking on any particular company, but we'll use Microsoft, Google, Apple. They are on a regular basis constantly announcing massive layoffs, and it's primarily due to AI, and they say it, this is primarily due to AI. So that's one case there. And then the other case is other companies, mostly I would say small to medium-sized organizations, when there's turnover and someone leaves an organization, they are not announcing that, hey, we're doing massive layoffs, but instead they replace that function with AI capability rather than employing another person. So things are changing. There's a lot of changes that are going on in the job market, regardless of industry. AI touches every single industry. I actually wrote about this as part of my dissertation, and I was talking about the how ethical leadership matters for ethical leaders to pursue ethical practices when adopting specifically generative AI at the time. And I did caution and warn people about massive job losses, and we are seeing it today faster than a lot of other predictions that were out there. And 2026 is not going to be any different. So there are a lot of changes that are happening there that, of course, how does this relate to dreams and investing in long term? Because if people are not earning higher wages or any wage at all, you cannot pursue the American dream. That is a critical factor in this American dream conversation. For those that do have jobs, they have probably noticed that wages are not increasing. Wages have been stagnant for years, yet the cost of living continues to rise in America. And I'm speaking broadly because whether you live in a large city or a small area, rural area, or suburbs, it really doesn't matter. Everywhere across the board, affordability, there's an affordability issue. And that's also attached to the housing market. The list goes on and on. Part of the American dream is purchasing a house. And statistics show, and the data show, that particularly individuals my age, a lot of millennials, and now including Gen Z, they are delaying to get married. They're delaying to purchase a house because of the affordability crisis. Housing prices have gone up. Initially, it was enacted with COVID a little bit, and the appreciation just got crazy because there was a shortage of houses. And cost of supply chain was intensely increasing, all adding up to high housing costs. But there's other factors that have gone into the housing market as well. And I do apologize for the sub-segue, but I did study economics as well. I'm just explaining the basic facts here that are impacting the American dream. Another part of the reason why people cannot afford houses, a lot of people don't talk about this, but it is actually part of the building costs that the construction and the real estate developers have to face here in America. And it's all controlled by local governments. Local governments determine how many permits and zoning laws and all these things, paperwork that you need to get approval before you start building and break ground. And so property tax and permits and the cost of permit fees have also dramatically gone up, and sometimes account for almost 20% of the total housing cost that then a consumer comes off the street and tries to purchase the house. And that was not the case before. But a lot of people don't know that. They just say, oh, these developers are so greedy. Yes, that may be true in most cases, but it is also driven by other economic factors that are out of their control, so they pass that cost on to the consumer. So bottom line there is affordability crisis. Part of the American dream was purchasing a house, and now more than ever, most millennials and Gen Zs are not purchasing houses, and it feels like it's further and further away, and it's more of a dream than reality. So we're talking about realities of the American dream here. Part of the American dream was to settle down, have children, if you desire children. And like I said before, more millennials, more Gen Zs are delaying having children because, they look at maybe their combined income, or if it's a single parent, or or whatever the case may be. Sorry, when I say single parent, I mean like one person is the breadwinner and has a job, and maybe the other one is staying home. Will stay home with the children. They're seriously considering delaying having children because of the affordability crisis. And this is truly bipartisan. It is truly a bipartisan issue that I'm not talking about politics here. I'm just stating facts. So the American dream, there's some realities that have shifted that maybe perhaps part of our previous generations did not have to face. Part of the American dream was to maybe work for one company for 20 years, 30 years, and then retire. And that is not the case either. Very few people stay at their workplaces for 20 years, for 30 years. And of those that do, tend to be part of the baby boomers generation. And some are even going back to work after retirement because the Social Security checks that they get, if they were earning a pension, whatever the case may be, they are not matching up to the rising cost of inflation and the cost of living. So this is all part of the American dream, folks. I'm talking about realities that people are facing every day. Even purchasing a car, Purchasing a car in the United States is expensive, whether brand new or used. The car market is outrageous. So that is the American dream. And that poses the next question of, that was the American dream that was pre-designed and articulated and sold to everybody. But the realities of it make it very difficult to obtain even the basic minimum. And we're talking about low income, middle income. The middle class is shrinking dramatically. So the next question is, what is your dream? If perhaps this American dream that you adopted, you never were the visionary behind it, what is your dream? And part of what Nehemiah African Projects is considering and proposing is that, and it could be in many places in the world, but again, we focus on education, on opportunities in Africa. But what if you could imagine your dream that is able to build intergenerational wealth, not only for yourself, your family, but it is able to actually create jobs for people in different African countries. And it allows you, if you would like to retire early, and not worry about extreme rising cost of living because you've diversified and where you live has dramatically reduced your cost of living, or you don't have one at all because you purchase a real estate on payment plans and don't have a mortgage. You don't have a mortgage for 30 years. Imagine your dream where your investments are working for you and they're able to support maybe family, relatives, and communities, maybe sponsor a child to go to school and pay their school fees, and just give you that, I call it financial flexibility rather than financial independence. Because as long as we live, there's always going to be some form of cost. But I believe in the term financial flexibility, and having that flexibility way earlier than hitting the retirement age and facing the reality that I need to work a couple more years, or I've retired but I need to go back to work. It's quite daunting, honestly. So I do propose for you to sit down and consider, what is your dream? And maybe your dream is still very much similar to the traditional American dream, but it's slightly revised to say, hey, you know what really matters in life? Do I really need this big 5-bedroom house and this car payment that is taking up $1,500 from me every month? I would do without with that. Not my cup of tea, but to each his own. And so it could be making changes, and starting with making changes right here in the U.S. So because you are based here in the U.S. And the U.S. is a beautiful country. It's a wonderful country. There's many opportunities out there. But I'm just speaking the reality and the truth, folks, that it seems like we got to work a lot more harder for those opportunities. The opportunities were never going to be served to us on a silver platter. But there still are opportunities out there. You could take advantage of them, but maybe with the mindset of, hey, I'm going to take advantage of these opportunities, see what I can do, but reallocate my funds so that I don't have to be working this hard forever for 30, 40 years. And then realize I retired and I got to go back to work. So that's it, guys. Talking about American dream versus your dream. And I hope Nehemiah African Projects is helping to shift your mind, shift your perspective on the possibilities. We look forward to bringing you more specific opportunities on what you can invest in and how to go about it. Feel free to comment in the section, leave a comment in the section, in the comment section, and share with a friend who you think might be interested. I'm happy to have you here. And again, my name is Dr. Rufaro. And again, doing another video from the car because here in America, we're all strapped for time. So thank you very much and see you again.